Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. It is JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program today. Our show is always brought to you by G2G Bars, all natural ingredients and no preservatives. Make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot today. Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Food, Costco, and many other retailers in the refrigerated section. And The Cut, this portion of the program brought to you by the good folks at the Doug Smith family of dealerships in American Fork, Spanish Fork, and in Linden. Nobody knows cars like Doug, all right? All right, JJ, get that through your skull.
Okay, I get it.
You've bought a car from Doug before. That's why I know.
Chris hooked us up down there.
That's awesome. All right.
Love the PHEV.
Still going
Outlander.
with it?
Oh, it's terrific.
But
my wife loves it.
Are you getting 90 miles to the gallon?
Real quick story.
Yeah.
My wife's driving down Bangor Highway.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, something pops.
Oh.
It's the tire. But all of a sudden, the car goes low tire pressure low, and she's near another friend of ours, Burt Brothers.
Uh-huh.
And she just pulls in the Burt Brothers. She didn't break down on the side of the road. She didn't have to get out and change a tire, have to call her insurance company. The car told her what was going on, and she was quickly able to react and get it to a place where it was safe, get the tire changed at no cost.
Nice.
And a bad situation that could have turned bad while I wasn't there to help her while I was in Texas.
Oh, that was like right now. That was like really recently.
It was Monday.
Oh, geez.
So, boom. Like,
got it fixed.
When you get a quality vehicle like that, it makes a difference. I love the vehicle.
Joining us on the program right now, collegefootballnews.com. He's a college football expert. Pete Fiutak joining us on the program, as he's done many, many times before. Pete, I know you're not as dialed in and drinking from the fire hose like from Big 12 Media Day like we were down in Dallas the other day. But, man, when you dip into what that conference is doing, do you look at it as a conference on the rise? Because Brett Yormark is telling us this thing, no one has ever done college football the way the Big 12 is doing it. Now, we might push back on it, but is the conference on the rise as much as the commissioner thinks it is?
Well, let's start with this. Where would you guys go for Big 12 Media Days? Was it Las Vegas? No. So that's step one. They're not doing things like you're supposed to do.
I said Dallas, but I really meant Frisco.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't actually – I'm the person who doesn't understand why Dallas exists. I've been there several times, and I still don't get it at all. But, okay, I guess it's a city where people choose to live. But, all right. Okay, I guess.
Hey,
I mean, good luck. I
grew up in that area, Pete, and I go back there, and what did I tell JJ? I go, I couldn't live here ever again.
I grew up in Minneapolis, and it's the stupidest place to live on the planet. I don't know why people live in freezing cold weather. But
I'm glad that we can agree now that it was like, all right, the places we grew up, maybe they weren't as amazing as we thought. Yeah. So there's
exactly.
But the Big 12, it was certainly interesting because there are a lot of teams that I think are poised to do pretty darn well, but I don't think anybody really poised to be exceptional and elite in the college game.
Yeah, it's the most entertaining conference because it's going to be from top to bottom. I mean, everyone's kind of good. I mean, Kansas is better, Cincinnati's better, Houston's better. I still think that you have the most interesting team in the country, which is Texas Tech, which is, can you buy a team? And this is how it works now. This is, they're playing the game, but they found themselves some oil money or something there because all their sports programs are now good. But yeah, the problem continues to be with the Big 12, and this was the issue when, you lose a Texas and an Oklahoma. It's like, who's the anchor tenant in the mall? Like, what's the one program that everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, that's it. You don't have, a USC. You don't have, the Oklahoma or the Alabama or that's swallowed up by the other conferences. The problem is you have the Big Ten, which it's not the Big Two, it's the Big One. They have more money than everyone else. Then you go about 100 feet below, and then there's the SEC, and then you go about 500 feet, and there's everyone else. It's just in terms of money, in terms of reach, in terms of markets, and so that was kind of the argument going into last year. Is okay, you got Utah, you got Colorado, you got BYU from a couple of years ago, you got the Arizona schools. all of a sudden those are your stars. So, and what happened? Arizona, face planted, Utah face planted, and Arizona State came from out of nowhere. So it's kind of hard to say, okay, your big stars didn't really show up. This year Utah will, and let's see if America cares.
Well, you mentioned you think Utah will. Why are you high on the Utes?
Is Cam Rising still in the mix somehow?
No,
it seems like he's held this program hostage for the last 4 years, where it's oh, well, just wait. When Cam Rising comes back, then here we go. Then everything's settled. And obviously injuries and issues, it was unfortunate. He just couldn't get there. But then the problem became that you just couldn't go anywhere with that offense. Everything else was in place. You've got the lines, you've got the parts, you've got everything else there. Utah is going to be good again. And if Devin Dampier is if he's the guy who showed up in New Mexico, he's going to throw picks. He's not going to be Patrick Mahomes when it comes to throwing the ball. But if he's that electrifying playmaker like he was with the Lobos, then all of a sudden Utah's right there and they pop back up into the mix again.
We were talking with, obviously we dip in a lot with BYU, and when they got the Jake Retzlaff news, and they were basically told it's not going to be happening with him as a signal caller this year. Then you go to a situation where we as media, and then the fans even less, and frankly, I don't even know if the team is that well informed as to what the real level of talent is between the couple of guys that have been mentioned, between McKay Hillstead and Trayson Bourget, and they throw in Bear Bachmeier, who I think is probably more of a future solution than he would be anything else. But that when you mix up a quarterback room like that, this close to when camp starts, and frankly when you had all of that time to be able to build up with those wide receivers and things like that, what's the solution there? Because we're also trying to tell ourselves, yeah, but it's not. I don't know if Jake Retzlaff was the guy who was the guy and was just the best in the Big 12. However, he won a lot of freaking games.
Well, apparently, if he's the only guy who was smooching on that team, everyone else is angrier. So you have an angry team that's ready to play at a whole other level. So you have that. But it's the nice part about the whole new world of the transfer portal. You've got guys in place now. 5 years ago, if you lose your starting quarterback, that's it. You're done. And now you just listed off guys who any of them can rise up and shine. And that's the nice part about BYU is, they have all the other parts in place. This is a great infrastructure. The lines are terrific. The defense is going to be great. The schedule is a little nastier, so it's going to be a little bit tougher to do that. But yeah, you lose your leader like that, that's an issue. But he had a magical season last year. Retzlaff was great. But all those guys you mentioned, it's BYU. You just kind of plug and play. And they might not be Retzlaff in terms of the experience and what he was able to bring last year, but they can certainly step right in and win right away with the rest of the parts that are around them. So I think everyone's going to dismiss BYU because there's so many other shiny objects in the Big 12 this year. And then all of a sudden we're probably going to be in mid-November, be like, oh yeah, they're right there in the mix for things again.
Going back to our conversation about parodying the Big 12, I think we're all in agreement in that there's not those flagship universities or those programs right now that are in contention to win a national title, which is what the Big 12 really needs. As you look at the 16 teams, are there one or two schools, or maybe even three that you think can emerge and become that in the Big 12?
Eventually, not really. I mean, but that's kind of the nature of the sport. This isn't college basketball where you can find, 3 or 4 guys and you have the right mix and all of a sudden Baylor wins a national title. Or, a UConn, has the right coach at the right time. Or you get hot from 3 and you can win a couple games in the NCAA tournament. In the history of this thing, in the 50-something years, there's only 4 schools that have won all the national titles. It's like Princeton and Alabama, and the schools who win national titles. You never get Texas Tech. You don't have an Oklahoma State in there. You don't have the outliers because the infrastructure is so hard to get that many players who produce at that high of a level. So yeah, eventually you'd like to have one program that can rise up and win a couple games. But it's so hard because if you get into it's getting into the tournament's one thing. But then you're going against, who'd you get? And as we saw last year, Arizona State was good, not quite good enough, but Penn State caught the break with who they got. They got, what was it, SMU and then Boise State?
Yeah, and then Boise.
And then Oregon, congratulations, you're the number 1 seed, and you start with Ohio State. So it's so hard. You can get there, and you maybe can win a game, but at the end, it's always going to be that superpower program that has the depth and has the talent to get through those 2 or 3 games.
Man, I just love that Cinderella story of the number 8 seeded Ohio State Buckeyes getting that national championship.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Who would have thought?
That little engine that could. Oh, it's nice to see that they nice to see good things happen to wonderful people.
A true Cinderella story.
How do these teams deal with? I mean, that was one thing that we saw this over the last couple of days in Dallas was the coaches kind of throwing their hands up and going, I mean, yeah, we're trying to stay up on top of this whole money and rev share and all those things that have come with the settlement. But I think even big conferences and the biggest schools, they can say that they've got a handle on it, but I feel like no one really does.
No one has a handle on it because there's no real rules. And now you're seeing like there is the group that's saying, well, we're going to start with this. You do need to police the NIL deals, if only to have a third party who can say, okay, this was the actual deal. So you don't have a Matthew Sluka thing like last year with UNLV where he claims that they said they were going to give $100,000 and UNLV's like, we have no idea what you're talking about. So that you do sort of need that. The whole idea of a salary cap and the whole idea of look, there's never been that. There's always been, the Texas A&M's giving Trans Ams and, the bag of cash and Ricky Rowe getting a tractor and all that. That's just the nature of college sports. So you're never going to be able to fully police this like you think you can. So just don't even try and just look. If somebody wants to give these guys money, go for it. But it's kind of a positive because I just mentioned I'm actually kind of not joking. If you're looking at the history of college football, I'll tell you, in 1984 BYU or at Georgia Tech in I believe it was 91 or so. You don't have those quirky outlier national champions. The only shot you got now is okay. Maybe you do have some mega donor or booster club or something like this that can pay for the parts you need to all of a sudden turn Texas Tech into a player or something like that. So it's not necessarily the worst thing. And I've kind of keep seeing this as everyone's saying, oh my gosh, we got to fix college football. It's fine. As soon as the ball gets kicked off in Ireland, everyone's going to be like, oh, okay, football again. And they're not going to care about all this other stuff.
Just like we predicted an Ireland game, just like we asked for a game in Ireland.
Where else would you play Farmageddon?
Farmageddon has to be played. I think it's a little bit of a diss. Maybe it's to be like, hey, look, bring these teams over. We're going to make reference to 2 farming teams, and then the Irish potato famine will also make a dip in on all the on the news on this thing. But what's funny?
Have you ever been there? Have you ever been there? By the way,
no. I heard it's phenomenal. Though.
I will just say this: because they don't have all the preservatives and stuff. By 100 miles, the best burgers and shockingly unbelievable donuts. Like everywhere you think beer, you think all I gained so much weight when I went there, and you can see if you're a college fan, just with all the beer and all the pubs. That's definitely a place that you need to go, especially if there's a game.
Well, there was
that involves something you care about.
It was funny because the Irish Tourism Board was at Big 12 Media Days, and they're walking around, and you're going, "This is such a hilarious thing that the Irish Tourism Board's walking around Frisco, Texas at the Star." It's hilarious to watch.
You've got to get in. By the way, you've got to get in on that because Guinness actually did this. I think it was 3 years ago, where they were giving tours and flying media members and people out to Ireland to say, hey, promote Guinness, blah blah blah. We'll give you the all expense paid trip, and I personally cannot stand Guinness, but that's just me. But hey, I know a bunch of people who just went on that and say, yeah, let's promote the heck out of the Ireland games over there. And hey, if you get on that, go for it.
Yeah, just like Brett Yormark, me and Alex are open for business.
So what was it then? What's your corporate stance on the wimping out on not coming up with a preseason poll just because they blew it so badly?
They had to blame somebody, Pete. Blame the media. I don't know.
And how did Arizona State how did Arizona State suffer from that?
That was the thing. That was the thing is everybody was willing to throw Arizona State out there and be like, look what they had to endure 3 extra weeks of not being in the top 10 or whatever it was. And then they go, hey, and you've been at these scrums a million times, and they're like, let's go to the front row here. He's like, Mike Jones, Fort Worth Star Telegram, Coach Dillingham, man. When you guys were disrespected last year in that media poll, did you see it hold you back the rest of the year? He goes, you're going to hate my answer. I didn't care. I don't care. It didn't do a thing. We still made it to the college football playoff. And then Brett Yormark's like, cut his mic. It just didn't go along with the narrative because JJ and I had this very conversation. It was like, dude, if you win games, you're going to be there. If you lose them, you're not going to be there. And I don't care what team it is. If they're 9-0, if they're 10-1, they're going to be in the college football playoff conversation.
If BYU doesn't lose 2 games, they're in.
Right.
I did this. I just put the Alabama preview up, and the Alabama's the team that you can't lose to Oklahoma like that. But if you really did this right, they actually deserved it to get in over SMU, and you could do this because they had 5 teams to choose from. Blah blah blah. But you could make the case for BYU, and that was kind of the thing at the time. That BYU just not lost one extra game. They're the ones who beat SMU, and they should have been in there over the Mustangs, what they did earlier in the season. And but that's sort of thing. Like, to your point, what have we learned about the college football playoff over the last 11 years? They care first and foremost about the record because they can justify that. And what did they do last year? They could justify a team. They've never left out I think it was like an 11-win team or a 10-win team or something like that. And who got left out? The 9-win team. So if you're a BYU, and this goes to the Big 12. This is where it's going to come back to bite the conference, where you are going to have every week a Houston's going to come up with a win, or an Iowa State's going to come up with a win, or a Kansas. Is that you're not going to have a lot of 10-win teams because of all the parity in that conference. And then Yormark's going to scream, we need more Big 12 teams in this thing. Well, yeah, but your number 2 team's like 8-4, so it's kind of hard to sell that, even if the conference is really extremely entertaining this year.
Yeah, I mean, we don't care if we do a preseason poll or not, but I just thought it was really lame that they blame the preseason poll for Arizona State, BYU, and others for not getting respect. It's like, no, you got to go win games. You got to be dominant, like we talked about. There needs to be some teams rise up and dominate this conference.
It's a media poll. It's not the official,
It's not even impact the AP poll.
Right,
right?
No, come on.
It's kind of like, we all know what this is. It's just to generate conversation and have some fun in the offseason. But with that said, Pete, we want to give you a chance to give your thoughts on the Big 12 preseason poll. Maybe you got your own. Who do you think's going to win this thing, since they won't let us do it officially?
Exactly. I'm still sticking with Utah. That it should rise back up and be the best team. Kansas State is really strong. But again, name any team, and we haven't talked about Iowa State, which comes back with just about everyone.
How about TCU?
TCU is loaded. They did a great job in the transfer portal, adding to what they already had. I already mentioned Texas Tech. The most curious team I'm really waiting to see is the Scott Frost stuff was obviously the most entertaining thing of the whole, beyond Yormark, the whole thing. It's like, oh, boo-hoo, he had to go to he was forced to take the Nebraska job. Well, poor you, and it's his own fault for leaving Orlando for Lincoln, but okay. Well, let's see just how quickly he can recapture the magic and see what he does there. So, again, by far, this is the most interesting conference in college football, for good or for bad.
By the way, Scott Frost in person, it looked like he aged about 40 years in Lincoln. It really did. And I was like, that guy has been worn out by the absolute crazy, wild, expectations that are in a blue blood town like Lincoln. And it's just like, man, that takes a toll, man. And you got the replay with Rich Rod. You got the replay with Scott Frost. It's going to be interesting. Like, I don't know if there's ever been a time where we'd go, oh, yeah, 2025 is a time where we'll call guys up and go, do you want to redo this again? Like, let's make another deal. That would have never happened in old college football. Everyone would have too much pride to call somebody up. The coach would have too much pride to take that job. It's funny to see those guys coming back in the league.
Well, and on that, to get off the Big 12 for a second, if you want the most interesting team to watch out for, it's going to screw everyone up. To your exact point, Rutgers gets everybody back, and they have a not that bad schedule, and Greg Schiano has got the parts there, to pull an Indiana.
And he's a decent coach. We can say what we will about Greg Schiano, but
So you're saying Pete Rutgers could be this year's Indiana?
Well, he's a good coach who came, like you said, he's the guy who came back and said, I'll try to recreate the magic, and yeah, whatever magic, he's not going to create the Big East magic that he did, but certainly this is the year where you're going to be like, oh, that team's really annoying everybody because it's giving the Big Ten problems. So that kind of goes to your, you can go home again type of thing, though. So see if it happens with Frost. It's certainly, if nothing else, the Rich Rod offense, if he does what he did at Jacksonville State up there, and he gets it back right away, and all of a sudden there's another team that's a thorn in everyone's side. Everyone's interesting in the Big 12 this year.
Go to collegefootballnews.com and read up all the stuff that Pete Fiutak can give you is going to make you a smarter college football fan and viewer of the sport that we love so much. Pete Fiutak, collegefootballnews.com. Thanks, Pete. We appreciate it, man. We'll chat with you again.
Anytime, guys. Have a great one.
There you go. Love Pete's insights. That's pretty funny that he's just definitively, hey, man, that's Utah's the team. Utah's the team to watch. You and I kind of came away from Big 12 Media Days and going, you know what? I'm kind of reevaluating because I think I put Utah at 5 or 6 in my poll.
You had 6, BYU 7. I think I flipped them.
I think I may even have BYU under TCU. I was re-looking at it and I was like, ooh. But then I was like,
that's
why not?
Understandable.
Why not?
TCU's good.
But he said it. You know what that is right there? Promo material for all the Utah fans out there. Get Pete on there singing their praises. You know why? Because you need that right now. You need to feel like, and you know what happened? Of all the negativity and all the vibe that went out there from Utah after the season went, and then even after the Devin Dampier pickup, people were still like, yeah, but this thing's, I mean, it's going to be a minute before they get back. And you're like, why? No, it's not. And after Media Day, you're starting to see a shift in the attitude again. People are just going right back to Utah again and going, yeah, why not them? They're not doing it with Oklahoma State.
No, they're not. And I believe that because if Dampier hits,
yeah, but it's not just Dampier.
They got everything else.
It's not just Dampier. Everybody's looking and going, oh yeah.
But that's what's
missing.
Forget
about Kyle.
The quarterback play is what's missing.
Forget about Morgan Scalley. When these other teams come around, like ultimately Utah is still probably the best defense in the conference overall. Over the past 15 years, there's not been a better defense of all these teams that have just been, listed off there. You know what's good for BYU? They're on that move too. They were one of the best defenses in the entire conference last year.
If you had a poll who has the best defense in the Big 12, I think BYU and Utah are 1-2, and I think Arizona State can get in the mix there.
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We have more right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. We're going to come back with our Hercules Hero of the Week winner. We're also going to talk a little bit about what the narratives that came out of Big 12 Media Day actually do to help some of the teams who are in desperate need of that attention right now. Stay right here with us. More to go. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on the Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. It's that time of the week for us to be able to roll out for you our Hercules Hero of the Week award, presented by the good folks at Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. We've told you how this works. We get nominations of people who do an awesome job in the community where their kids are playing sports. The volunteers who make these engines of local youth sports go are unbelievable. We've got them in my community. The guys who are in charge of like the Pee Wee program, they're not even from the city. They're just dads who want the kids to have a good experience, and they want them to have a good team when they get to high school. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, hey, we're going to make sure. And they're holding practices and they're holding stuff that has nothing to do with the city. It's not affiliated with the city rec center at all. And they go, let's get this thing going. And if you have somebody like that in your neck of the woods, we want you to be able to nominate that person at KSLSports.com/contests. And then we name off those winners like we are right now. This week's winner of the Hercules Hero of the Week award is Javier Francisco. Javi is the head coach for the U13 West Jordan Football Club competition soccer team. My son's been on this team for 2 years. Javi is the most dedicated coach. He cares for individual players on the team and does his best to help them feel supported and successful. The boys love him and thrive under his direction. He goes the extra mile by hosting barbecues, celebrations for the boys and their families, creating spirit of the unity within the team. He gives freely of his time, spends hundreds of hours helping these boys with his unpaid volunteer position. We would love for him to be recognized, and that was a nomination given by Shiloh Moore. So congratulations, Javi Francisco, the winner of this week's Hercules Hero of the Week award. Awesome job of the West Jordan Football Club U13 team. And it's people like Javi that make our youth sports go, man. We love that.
Yes.
So he gets a gift card from Hercules First Federal Credit Union and $200 to Beehive Meals, and it's all well deserved. And that isn't even good enough recognition, right? It's invaluable, the type of things that these guys do, and so we appreciate that Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals throw a little something behind this because they need that recognition. So we appreciate guys like Javier who do an awesome job. Go to KSLSports.com/contest and nominate your youth sports hero for the Hercules Hero of the Week award. All right. Let me see here. Oh, we got to talk about some of these. We have to talk. We brought it up a little bit with your guy, Pete Fiutak. I say your guy. He's our guy. I love having Pete on. You know why? Tells it like it is. And he's like, look, I know I'm a member of the media, but it's kind of dumb. Why on earth would the preseason poll actually bias people for what the rest? It's a media poll for a media day in July.
Yeah.
This isn't the AP poll. You and I have talked about the importance of where you are early in the AP poll, and some of these preseason polls do, in fact, and if you think that the College Football Playoff Committee isn't affected by the AP poll or the coaches poll or whatever, they are. They have to be. But you know what? The biggest thing that influences these polls at the beginning, I have to admit, it's big names, it's big conferences. But ultimately, if you're not winning games, you're not going to be on that list at all. You're not going to be receiving votes at all. I mean, I remember a time when UAB was like number 16 in the poll or something like that one year. And I thought, you know why they're there? Because you can't ignore the fact that they're, 9-0 or whatever it was before they ended up losing a game. Or, you get teams like that. Your Tulsas and your Tulanes. I said Tulsa. I don't think it's ever happened for them. But Tulane or even SMU when they were down and out and they had lost, against BYU early in the season, guess what they had to do, JJ, to get in the college football playoff? And it's a shocker. They had to win freaking games. And that's the thing that matters the most. I don't think these preseason polls shape nearly the narrative. And by the way, you're not supposed to get a narrative shaped. Remember, the College Football Playoff Committee is an independent, totally unbiased, have never been convinced by anything or anybody on how they need to put these teams in order on these polls.
Right. Which is why we're trying to eliminate them from as much as possible in choosing who goes to the College Football Playoff, which is why the SEC and the Big Ten want to go with whatever models they want. It's to try to remove the committee as much as possible. So that's part of the issue. But another thing about these polls, let me throw out an example from last year. So even the coach, who was it? It was Kleiman, said that he felt like the narrative. He agreed with it. Whatever. We don't care. Like, it's one less thing I got to do. I don't care about a preseason poll. As a member of the media, I don't.
Right.
But I just think it's funny that this is brought up as an issue when it has nothing to do with what's actually going on. And just case in point, they said that narrative hurt Arizona State. How? How did it hurt Arizona State? They had a chance. They had a fourth down play. If they pull off the first big college football playoff upset, and they're moving on to the semifinals. Yeah, they were that close. That narrative never hurt Arizona State. It actually helped fuel them in their quest, and it made it a great story. When we talk about narrative, I thought the narrative around Arizona State was pretty cool last year. BYU, like, they were in the mix all year long. There was no narrative with keeping BYU out. BYU got kept out because of a bad bounce against Kansas.
By the way, Arizona State was 3-9 the season before.
They deserved it.
And they were coming into a conference, and nobody knew exactly what they were going to get. Everyone was guessing on what – nobody knew what the leap from junior to senior year Cam Scadaboo was going to have either. They knew he was a tough-as-nails guy. They liked it. Oh, man, he ran for 974 yards his junior year, and he had a couple games he was missing. Yeah, guess what? Like, no one could have predicted that.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The number 16 team in the Big 12 media poll, that's what makes it kind of interesting. I mean, even more interesting.
It's a great story.
And we could say, well, it's because the media is so dumb. Coach Dillingham's like, we haven't done anything. We better figure it out. They won 3 games a year prior. Who would have thought that they would have been 11?
And they had a freshman quarterback.
Right. Who would have thought they'd be 11-2 and playing Texas in the first round of the college football playoff?
Were we all supposed to know that Cam Rising was going to break his hand in the first half against Baylor?
No.
What were we supposed to know that Arizona wasn't going to mesh well with? They had Noah Fafita and Ted McMillan coming back. Ted McMillan is a top 10 NFL draft pick. We thought Arizona was going to be really good.
Right.
Oklahoma State was bringing back the Doak Walker Award winner. I guess we should have been tipped off that he wasn't having a good offseason after the DUI.
Yeah, but you know what? We've seen guys have DUIs and then have phenomenal years.
Right. So
we've seen it.
Now, I have an example, and this is in another league. Is the Big Ten going to get rid of their preseason media poll? Because guess who was picked near the bottom in most everybody's preseason poll last year? Indiana.
Of course.
17th and 18th in most polls.
Yeah.
Did that narrative keep them out of the playoffs? Did it cause any harm to the Big Ten? Quite the opposite. Suddenly, a new team has emerged in the Big Ten and made the playoff. That was good for the Big Ten.
All right. So
Did the preseason poll prevent all that from happening? Come on now.
throw it to the computer. Now, here's the thing.
Well, I hate the Big Ten. It feels like the Yormark was making an excuse.
Okay, I have a computer simulated ranking for the SEC for this year. You ready for this?
Yeah.
This is the computers. Tell me if any of them are wrong. Mississippi State 16, Vanderbilt they have at 15. I thought they were on the rise here, brother. Come on. Their projected win losses are 5 and 7. Why wouldn't those be the projected win losses? That's the return to the mean for that team. They go back to where they usually are.
Yeah.
Kentucky 14, Arkansas 13, Florida 12. That seems low, but the computers are.
That's the one team that stands out right now as maybe being underrated there.
10 Oklahoma, 9 Missouri, 8 South Carolina, Auburn 7, LSU 6. Let me see here. Top 5 goes Ole Miss. By the way, they're the number 5 team, and their projected record is 8-4 at number 5 team in the Big 12. But again, I mean in the SEC, Tennessee 9-3 is supposed to be your number 4 team. Number 3 Alabama, number 2 Georgia, and number 1 Texas. By the way, their projected win losses for Georgia and for Alabama is to go 9-3. Number 1 Texas to go 10-2. This is the thing that the Big 12 is trying to avoid, by the way, is to have a combined 5 losses in their SEC championship game. The Big 12 does not want to have a 3-loss team versus a 2-loss team.
They're not getting in.
They would love to have a undefeated team and a 1-loss team. That would be best case scenario for them. But the reality is you're going to get more of like what you had last year, which is, what was it, 4 teams? Was it 4 teams that tied at 7-2? They had to have the whole, or was it 5? I mean, they had so many at 7-2. They had to have that little tiebreaker at the very end of the season. So, but an SEC program that's got 3 losses is going to get more consideration than a Big 10 team or a Big 12 team with 2 losses, right?
Of course, but how many 3-loss teams made it in last year without an auto qualifier? Clemson lost 3 games last year.
Right.
In regular season.
But won the ACC championship.
But they won the ACC championship. Other than that, everybody had 1 or 2 losses. If all those teams go 9-3, how do you justify giving all them bids? So that's weird.
By the way,
that's not going to happen.
Mitch Harper, our BYU insider, our guy, he made a prediction too about teams that are going to be on the rise, and he was like, "Watch out, man! You're going to see." You're gonna see a bunch of big teams making some teams that aren't getting a lot of noise making some noise. And we had this conversation. And he's like, you're gonna see like a South Carolina in there. You're gonna have like a 4-loss South Carolina team in the college football playoff this season, because maybe they find their way to that SEC championship game, and then they get the W somehow, right? And then they lose in the college football playoff. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating to watch how these things can go down. The other thing that happens is the Big Ten is, I think the Big Ten is more top heavy than the SEC is. The SEC has a little bit more of that element of eating its own. But when you talk about, because I don't even know if Michigan's going to be that good yet again.
Yeah, don't know if they're back yet. We'll see. But to your point about the Southeastern Conference, the SEC.
Oh,
at the end,
more.
When you include all the playoffs, no team lost less than 3.
Yeah.
Regular season, only Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee had 2 losses. The SEC, those are 2 lost teams. I think that the SEC is bit overrated.
Yeah.
And no, I'm serious. Because if you're, what do you? I mean, they don't only play 8 games in their conference schedule. They're playing FCS teams in November. Like they built this thing, and talking about narratives, which is driving our conversation here. The SEC is thriving on a narrative that I don't know has a lot of truth to it. I'm not sure that the SEC is the best conference in football anymore. I think the Big Ten is.
It's crazy.
And I think you're seeing it because Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Oregon.
Well, who technically has the biggest?
I would pick all 4 of those teams right now over any SEC team to win the national championship.
Who technically has
outside of Texas?
Okay.
I'm not that crazy.
Who has the biggest money share, by the way, of all the big conferences? Big Ten.
Yeah,
they're the ones who technically have the SEC edged out from a projected. They're going to be the first ones to $100 million that they're going to be sharing among those 16 teams in the next 2 or 3 years. Speaking of $100 million, I mean, it's not quite $100 million, but did you see? We didn't even get to talk about it yesterday when it happened, when it went down. AJ DeBonsa signing that deal with Fanatics.
Yeah, and Tops.
So Fanatics is going to be the New Balance version of what Cooper Flagg brought down. What was the other thing that he had to deal with that got him to $28 million? They say that's an 8-figure deal. So if you say at the very lowest, let's say $10 million there from Fanatics, and then another $8 or $10 million from Tops.
Yeah, so Fanatics bought out Tops. I didn't know that.
Oh, okay. So
it's all part of the window. It's all part of the deal.
Probably all part of the deal. But here's the deal. I bet it's more like I bet it's closer to 20 than it is 10. Now suddenly that idea of going, BYU goes, that's awesome. We got him on the cheap then. Because you can give him $3 or $4 million, $3.5 million, and then these companies roll up and go, we're going to give him. And by the way, how can Deloitte come up and go, AJ DeBonsa's not worth $20 million? Hold on, that's over $600 deal. Can we review that? How much is this worth? $24.5 million. Yeah, I don't think so, kid. Tops and Fanatics are the ones who are going to set that number. And by the way, they're the ones who can determine it. Deloitte. That's why I think it's so dumb. Pete Fiutak said it right. There's no rules.
There aren't any.
You can say there are, but there aren't. And you can pretend like there's going to be some enforcement. There won't be. All right. Let's take a break. We'll come back. When we do, we've got ourselves a top 10. Don't want to miss it. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on the Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for being with us on the program, everybody. I found a very, very weird list for our top 10. And I'm
not prepared for this.
Well, it actually goes very well with our conversation about money in college football, specifically. I have in front of me, if you've ever seen these Kelly Ford rankings, by the way, because I was looking up and they do a deep dive into kind of prices on tickets and things like that for games and all that, and I thought, man, that's kind of crazy. And it's pretty hard to button down like what season tickets are for college sports across the country. Teams kind of guard that. Yeah. It's not that they guard it, but they're expensive and there's long lists and long lines and waiting lists and blah, blah, blah. What I did find is a crazy list in this top 10. Oh, by the way, we've got some tickets to give away in just a moment here because I don't want you to be – we're going to have an expensive ticket discussion and then we're going to give some tickets away.
Good.
Okay? So this is – the most valuable season ticket packages in 2025. What they did was they took watchability score of teams, which is based off of what kind of opponents are coming into the stadiums, right? And also like compared to prices that you mostly have access to, what the top 10 most valuable season ticket in college football is next season. Top 10. So
right.
They have a list of these teams, and so you're looking at a balance of quality opponents that come into the stadium, but also taking into account that it probably can't be $1 kajillion to have this. Alex, our guy, we got our timer ready. Is our button working over there? Look at that. Okay. I'm going to have you start it off here. This is a top 10 home watchability and most value for your season tickets. Top 10 starting now. Go.
Ohio State, Michigan,
Ding. Bah.
Penn State,
Eh.
Indiana,
Bah.
Alabama, Georgia,
Eh.
Ole Miss,
Wait, Georgia? Ding.
Tennessee,
Texas.
Oklahoma.
There's no value, but I mean, there's a value in watching the game, but it's like it doesn't match up with the expense of the ticket.
BYU,
Eh.
Utah,
Eh.
Washington,
Eh.
Oregon.
Ding.
Okay. Texas Tech,
Eh.
Kansas State.
Eh.
Who do we got left?
You've got more. You've got
Illinois.
You've got Big 12 teams available.
Baylor.
TCU.
Baylor, ding. TCU, ding.
Ooh.
Iowa State.
Ding.
Wow. I said Tech. Didn't get them.
It doesn't help when you say duh.
That's kind of. I told you I was going to struggle. No, we got a lot of them.
You did get a lot of them. Okay, so LSU
Sounds good right now.
LSU number 10. I know I could go for some.
LSU, I did not get.
TCU's number 9.
Okay.
Ohio State 8. Georgia 7. You guys ended up with the Baylor one because of the Big 12 hint I gave you. 6. Oregon 5. South Carolina.
Oh, we did not get
4.
South Carolina.
Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
That's one you don't want to forget.
That's right.
However, I would have just thought that was a cajillion dollars. I think whoever.
That's why I didn't think
Yeah.
it'd be on the list.
Oklahoma's 2. Our guy Alex Napolis nailed number 1 today. Iowa State number 1.
Wow.
For watchability. 7 home games, including a game against Iowa. But it's really because that they have that. It's the dollar amount is still kind of in a normal range.
Their tickets are cheap in Ames?
I guess. I mean, it won't be for long till when they hear this poll, they'll be like, we're not at the market value for what this is. I want to look at their schedule now. Iowa State, let me see what their home schedule actually is. So they obviously go to Ireland. That one isn't considered because we're talking about season tickets here. So they have, for this year, they are hosting South Dakota. Bang for your buck right there. I'm not saying South Dakota State. I'm saying South Dakota. This is a logo I don't see very often.
It's a good FCS program.
It has a paw.
It's not South Dakota State or North Dakota State, but they're good.
So they host Iowa. They host Arizona. That's a killer game. They host BYU. They host Arizona State. They host Kansas. So that's a good home slate right there.
Yeah.
They host both BYU and Arizona State and Kansas and Arizona and Iowa. So there you go.
And I assume the tickets are very, very affordable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get yourself a. I mean, look, you're in the
BYU
corn,
fans, go check out Ames.
You're in the corn state, isn't it? Corn? No. What's Iowa?
Might as well be.
Get a corn dog. Get yourself a corn dog out there. All right. Is this heaven?
Corn dogs don't grow on plants, Alex.
Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. I still have a ear of corn that I stole from the Field of Dreams field.
Oh, you did?
In the outfield, yeah.
Are you allowed to have that?
It's contraband. It's like, you have like a.
Did you pay for it?
I paid to get in.
Then you paid for it.
That's all you need to know, my guy. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. Oh, before we do, we got tickets to give away. I told you we're talking tickets. How about I give you some free ones? A family 4-pack of tickets to see RSL versus Houston coming up on Saturday. When's Diego Luna going to be back, guys?
He's back.
Come on. That's going to be quite a home game, by the way. That's going to be a fun return. So call in number 12 right now. Family 4-pack of tickets to see RSL and Diego Luna taking on the Houston Dynamo. Hate those guys, right? Don't we? All right. On Saturday, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. 801-575-9663. Take the family out. Let's go. We'll come back. We have more to go. Let's talk some NIL money. Let's talk about what NIL Go is. Let's talk about what the Sports Commission's initiative to monitor name, image, and likeness is going to do and absolutely fail at. So stay right here with us, 97.5 DKSL Sports Zone.